The World Economic Forum Annual Meeting 2026 has concluded in Davos, Switzerland. WEF President Børge Brende sat down for an exclusive interview with Leaders Talk. Focusing on the theme, A Spirit of Dialogue, he calls for,
we want more dialogue. We want to see leaders coming together and think in a win-win kind of dimension.
Speaking on China's leading role in upholding multilateralism and promoting global cooperation, he says,
very inspiring when President Xi Jinping was in Davos in 2017. China has underlined the importance of also going together.
Looking ahead to global technological innovation and development opportunities, he believes,
if you look now, China is world leading in many technology areas.
Leaders Talk exclusive with WEF President Børge Brende.
Hello and welcome to Leaders Talk, where we meet leaders, thinkers, and trailblazers. I'm Yanke. This is Davos, a small Swiss town nestled in the Alps. In recent days, it has drawn global attention as the World Economic Forum annual meeting, often seen as a barometer of the global economy, gets underway. The forum's newly released Global Risks Report 2026 shows the geoeconomic confrontation has emerged as the most severe risk facing the world in 2026. On the agenda, multiple sessions are dedicated to this issue, underscoring the importance of cooperation and the spirit of dialogue. Ahead of this year's forum, we sat down for an exclusive interview with Mr. Børge Brende, President of the World Economic Forum. In the face of mounting challenges to globalization and shifting geopolitical dynamics, how does he interpret the power of dialogue? How does he assess today's global risks and opportunities? And in his view, how does the resilience and the vitality of China's economy provide support for the global economy? Let's seek the answers through this conversation.
From January 19 to 23, 2026, the World Economic Forum Annual Meeting 2026 was held in Davos, Switzerland. More than 3,000 representatives from political, business, and academic circles across 130 countries and regions gathered for the event, including more than 60 heads of state and government. Held under the theme, A Spirit of Dialogue, the meeting called on the international community to rebuild trust through constructive engagement and jointly address global challenges amid an increasingly complex and rapidly evolving international landscape. Discussions centered on 5 key global challenges, including how to foster cooperation in a more competitive world, how to unlock new drivers of growth, and how to scale up the application of innovative technologies.
Mr. Brende, thank you so much for joining us on Leaders Talk. What are the highlights of this year's annual meeting, and also what's the significance of this year's theme, that a spirit of dialogue?
So a spirit of dialogue is an aspiration. We want more dialogue because we think talking to each other can bring the world more together. And unfortunately, we do see a bit of a fragmented and polarized world. And we want to see leaders coming together and think in a win-win kind of dimension. What is good for your neighbor is also good for me, and vice versa. So that's our aspiration.
Did you say a very classic word that dialogue should not be a luxury, but necessity?
Correct.
We have seen that the meeting brings together like political leaders, the heads of international organizations, and the leading figures from business, industry, academia. So by convening these kind of stakeholders together, what role do you expect the Davos Forum to play?
So we have a long tradition in bringing governmental leaders and business leaders together, and we know that we can also, at our best, based on dialogue, we can see that they can also reach agreements and better understandings. And this is very important for us. And we are hopeful that this year will be a year where we will see better global cooperation. And
indeed, dialogue has never mattered more in a world of accelerating changes. Do you think the role of the Davos Forum evolving to better match the current international landscape?
I think so. You know, in the past, it was easier to bring people and leaders together because there was this approach of not beggar thy neighbor, but prosper thy neighbor. Today, we are seeing that globalization, that was what was the modus operandi for decades, we're changing into a kind of a new paradigm where there's more competition between nations, and cooperation will also change. It's more bespoke cooperation. It's more also these plurilaterals, meaning that nations are coming together, those that do agree, and then can move things forward. In this new context, we also have to change and be realistic. We also, at the World Economic Forum, of course, we also very much were thriving under the former thinking, where also the multilateral organizations played a more important role. But we also have to take into account the realities, the real politics of the world.
So the forum is evolving because of the reality of the world. Actually, we have seen several WEF reports point to geopolitical tensions and geoeconomic confrontations as major risks. What consequences do you think these risks could trigger?
You can look at the glass half full or half empty. It is true that we are now faced with the most challenging geopolitical backdrop since the end of the Cold War. But at the same time, we were thinking that this geopolitical situation would have much more severe impact on global growth. But we have seen that the global economy has been very resilient. We're expecting more than 3% economic growth this year globally. China is growing more than 5%. The US economy is also doing very well. We think that the new technologies, AI, but frontier technologies, are driving this growth. So in the past, trade was the growth engine. Now, it's still important, but the new technologies are driving this growth. So the way we look at it is that a major escalation of war and conflicts are unlikely, but if it happens, it has big consequences. That's why it also has to be avoided.
Yeah, and how have these risks or factors, especially the deglobalization, will affect the world economy?
It is true that in the past, when we were closer to 4% trend growth globally, trade was growing double as much as the global growth. And that was definitely driving the growth. Now, for the first time in decades, we're seeing that, for example, trade in manufactured goods is growing much slower than the overall trade. So there is a change in the demand of the consumer. So we're seeing exponential growth and demand in digital trade and services, while traditional, like manufactured goods, we see slower growth. We also see that where the big investments are going now is in the AI centers, in all the frontier technologies. And that's what is driving growth. So the nations that will do well in the future are those that are also very well prepared for the new technologies. And I don't think there is any big secret that both China and the US are quite leading in this area, and they're competing. That's what we are, of course, all following very closely.
And you have said that the world is undergoing profound transformation. So what the most urgent collective actions should the international community take?
So we still need to be able to collaborate on the areas where we have common interests. So if a challenge is global, you cannot solve it only locally. Look at, for example, if we are faced, as we are, with cyber crime, 3, 4, 5 trillion US dollars every year is stolen. I think we all can agree that this is not a good thing, so nations have to collaborate on this. That's something else than, for example, collaboration on rules and regulations in areas that are legitimate. We are seeing that there is more difficult to agree on traffic rules for artificial intelligence, but that I can understand. I still think there are areas where we could collaborate better. But you know, the World Economic Forum, we are more a platform and an enabler. We're like not an organization that fixes things. We can bring the horses to the well, but we cannot force the horses to drink the water.
I remember one key conclusion from last year's annual meeting of the Davos Forum was that countries need to practice competition, namely they need to cooperating with one another even they are competing. So does this reflect how countries might interact in the near future?
I think you're right. I think also countries are finding out that they have more in common than maybe thought. It is in an integrated global economy not so easy to decouple. And if you want to decouple, it will come also with a high economic price. And we're also, though, in addition, of course, seeing that nations are preparing for a different world. You then trade with nations that you think are your friends, and you also diversify your trade.
Founded in 1971, the World Economic Forum marks its 55th anniversary this year and has developed a deep and enduring relationship with China. In 1979, China sent its first delegation to the Davos meeting, a practice that has continued ever since. In 1996, the forum began hosting the China Business Summit in China. In 2006, the WEF opened its Beijing representative office, the first of its kind outside Switzerland. Since 2007, the forum has held the annual meeting of the New Champions, also known as the Summer Davos, in China each year.
Actually, what role has the WEF played in the mutual learning and development of Eastern and Western economic philosophies?
I think we have been privileged to have the trust also of China in its opening up, and we have brought a lot of international delegations and CEOs to China. We have a large office of the World Economic Forum in Beijing, and the Summer Davos has been incredibly important, but we also have brought Chinese leaders to Davos, and I think this has been an important partnership also in the opening up of the Chinese economy. We do hope that we can continue this great partnership in the years to come.
China has long pursued a policy of opening up and recently emphasized promoting a high-level opening up and embrace open economy of the world. What role do you believe China can play in rebuilding trust and expanding international cooperation?
It is true that China, as the second largest economy in the world, only second to the US, is critical in all walks of life of this world. And I think it was very inspiring when President Xi Jinping was in Davos in 2017, and he made a very important speech there about the importance of multilateralism and global cooperation. So I think China has shown leadership in underlining the importance of the United Nations, of also many institutions. Easy for a big country to go alone, but China has underlined the importance of also going together. I think that is very important. For many of the challenges we're faced with can only be solved if we work together.
Just now you mentioned President Xi Jinping's keynote speech at the opening ceremony of the Davos Forum in 2017. I noticed that you have spoken highly of his remarks. You said that it transcended time and space, contributing wisdom and strength to addressing humanity's shared challenges and bringing valuable certainty and stability to a world in turmoil. So, from your perspective, what makes this speech particularly significant?
It is significant that a big nation and a big economy like China is sending so strong signals that it doesn't only want to operate alone because it's so big, but wants to have influence through working with others, but also upholding the institutions that we built since 1945. And you know, things do change for the moment. Things can also change over time and also be ready for other sentiments that might come in the future. So it's important that China is sending this signal.
Last December, China launched island-wide special customs operation in the Hainan Free Trade Port. At a time when some countries actually turning towards protectionism, what does this say about China's responsibility to a global opening up?
I'm not surprised that China does this because, you know, the farther backward you can look, the farther forward you're likely to see. And if you look at the opening up of the Chinese economy starting in 1979, then China was 2% of the global GDP in the late 1970s. Today, China is 20% of the global GDP. So there is a track record for that the reforms and opening up of China's economy has strengthened China's economy, created jobs, it has eradicated poverty. And if you look now, China is world leading in many technology areas too. On renewables, China is leading. We also know that China now is making huge progress on electrical vehicles, EVs. If you look at the fast trains in the world, China is so well connected. So if I compare when I was in China for the first time in the late 80s to today, it is a society that has changed a lot. But the society has changed because the economy has opened up. And I think China now is also using most of its resources to then invest in research and development, also letting new companies in the new technology fields like DeepSeek and others succeed. So I'm not surprised because, you know, the proof is in the pudding, as the English say. It has been a success to open up the economy. So that's why I think China is also continuing to do so.
Actually, our program, our show, also has a history with the WEF. Like during the last summer, 2025, Tianjin Davos, our show co-hosted a sub-forum together with the WEF titled, "How Will the Belt and Road Initiative Evolve?" How do you assess the value and the prospects of the Belt and Road Initiative?
No, it has been a very consequential initiative. It has also enhanced infrastructure investments in many developing countries. That is, again, a prerequisite for growth. If you look at what it takes to grow out of poverty and be competitive as an economy, a good infrastructure is very important.
Actually, just now you mentioned a lot that your experience in China. I know that you started visiting China since 1980s. Countless times that you visit China, and you have been many places inside of China. So what's your general impression of China? How did you observe the changes over past years?
So I've been privileged to not only visit Beijing and Shanghai and Tianjin, but I also been more other places, Guizhou, I've been in Tibet, and the changes there are also incredible. So compared to the first time I visited China, where there were only almost bicycles in the roads, then there maybe became too many cars. And now at least the cars are more electrical vehicles, so they don't pollute. So that's very good for the air pollution. But you know, to see amount of education opportunities for the young generations in China is like moving from, at least many places in China, moving from being a developing country to a very, very industrialized country is incredible. And the incredible thing is that in history, this has usually taken 100 years. So what took 100 years in Switzerland, in China, have done in 30 years. So it's very condensed. Of course, that also creates challenges because the culture and also the environment is changing very fast. But I think China overall has coped with this well. And I think China is also very honest about saying it's, of course, causing also some challenges and not hiding that and saying we are working on it. We're working on the house market and the real estate market. We're also working on pollution and turning into more renewables and etc. And I think that's very healthy. But overall, you have to look at the overall result and not only the challenges. And the overall result is that Chinese people are much better off economically now. Like, it's a staggering difference in 30 years.
So based on your observation, what's your major takeaways on the Chinese path toward modernization?
It's gone in phases. It was a heavy industrialization and focus on manufacturing. And now we're seeing that China also is pivoting more towards the new technologies is just incredible. And many of these companies are also engaged with the forum. I think this is also important.
And speaking of the emerging technologies and innovation, President Xi Jinping actually has repeatedly emphasized that the high-quality developments really depends on fostering new growth drivers through the technological innovation. So how do you interpret the significance of President Xi's vision on this?
He got it right because this is where the future growth will come. We know also when China really invests in something, it also gives quite impressive yield. Look at solar panels. They're 1/10 the price compared to 10 years ago. So now many places in the world, the cheapest electricity you can get are from solar. That's because it was invested and all this. So China is also in the situation though that when China in the 5 years plan, China can allocate resources more effectively than some other nations. So China can say we're now doubling down on research and development, we're doubling down on investments, we're doubling down also developing our universities, and that will also increase, of course, China's competitiveness.
What are your thoughts on China's progress in AI development?
China has chosen the open source, while some of the big American companies have a different approach. I think China now is making a lot of progress in many of these areas. And I think there is competition now between the Chinese companies and the American companies. But, you know, as long as there is a level playing field, competition is not a bad thing. People do well when there is competition. And I think that artificial intelligence will lead also to scientific breakthroughs that we haven't seen in a long time. So why am I saying that? For example, in medicine, you know, it takes maybe 20 years to research something and have humans then to collect all the information and the statistics and put it together. Artificial intelligence can make a process that took 20 years, for example, in cancer research, maybe do it in 5 years. And that will then make things much easier for scientists, and then you can develop also drugs and other things much faster. And I think in the years to come, China is going to be also world leading in the pharma sector, as China now is on EVs. But the whole artificial intelligence piece is opening up for breakthroughs that we just have to use our imagination to understand.
The Chinese New Year or the Spring Festival is approaching. The upcoming year is the year of the horse. Actually, the horse in Chinese culture represents or symbolizes the perseverance or the pursuit of excellence. I understand that horses also hold a very important part in Norwegian culture. Is that correct?
Definitely. In my home country, for centuries, we could not have been doing agriculture without the horses. They are also very popular. And as you said, I do like this year of a horse because it is about perseverance. And in today's complicated world, you have to show perseverance, but also excellence. With the new technologies, you have to be very, very excellent. And the world is always changing, and you have to embrace change.
So on this festival occasion, what messages do you want to share with our Chinese audiences?
First and foremost, thank you for inviting me to your program. It's a big honor. I know this leadership program has had a lot of prominent guests. I am optimistic on behalf of China. Also in the year of horses. China also has invested in a lot of the areas that are important for future success in technologies. And is there something that I feel very much is the quintessence of also the Chinese culture is Chinese people do work very, very hard and are very, very committed.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I wish the Davos Forum goes well in all the aspects.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
During the interview, Mr. Brende repeatedly described China's development achievements as incredible. He noted that vitality of China's economy and praised the country's progress in science, technology, and education. He also expressed his expectation that China and the World Economic Forum will continue to deepen their cooperation, jointly injecting strong momentum into global economic stability and growth. Thanks for watching this episode of Leaders Talk. I'm Yanke. See you next time.